The tragedy is, like, here am I on the outside of it all, speaking on behalf of these babies who I really want us to protect. And I'm just looking down the barrel of left-wing government after left-wing government in this country because the right cannot get their shit together. And that's today on the Dr. Joe Show. Before we get into today's episode, can I please ask that you hit the subscribe button? The more people that subscribe, the bigger our channel grows. Emblematic of all of this rot on the right, on the conservative side of politics, is Mark Speakman. Because Mark Speakman is the leader of the New South Wales Liberals. He comes from the so-called moderate faction, which is the left faction. And when the Radical Greens abortion bill was introduced by Amanda Conn, it was a bill that literally said that faith-based, publicly funded hospitals would have to perform abortions, that doctors would have to be involved in abortion by actively transferring that patient to someone who would kill that child, that it would remove data-keeping requirements. Now, this was such a radical bill, and Mark Speakman couldn't even come out and say that we as the Liberal Party are going to oppose this bill. And the reason he couldn't do that is because he's gutless and because his leadership depends on people like Felicity Wilson and Jackie Munro, radically left, pro-abortion women in his own party that should not be in his own party. They should be in Labor and the Greens. But he couldn't come out and say, we as a party are against this bill, because he needs them for his leadership. The Liberals need to connect in with this community that doesn't want these radically left bills. Like, there was 10,000 people at our rally, but the Liberals did not as a party stand for them. Instead of actually leading and having a party position against it, and that would have been so good because it would have been a point of difference between the Labor Party, which was throwing faith-based hospitals and health workers under the bus, and the Radical Greens. That would have been a point of difference between the Liberals and Labor and the Greens. Speakman didn't do that, and not only did he not do that, he actually then decides to vote for the bill himself. And then he gets up in the Parliament and accuses me of brazen bullying. Let's watch.
Dr. Joanna Howe emailed me last night describing herself as, quote, the lead advocate against the bill, unquote. She wrote, quote, should Premier Minns vote for the bill and enable its passage, I will be leading a 20-month campaign across 5 marginal seats that are currently Labor-held but are also in socially conservative electorates, unquote. But then, to my shock, she then threatened, quote, however, if you choose to vote for the bill, I will be left with no other choice but to suspend my planned campaign against Labor in order to lead a public campaign aimed at encouraging a grassroots opposition to you as Liberal leader, unquote. I won't cave in to brazen bullying like this, nor to the Americanisation of New South Wales politics. I will vote according to my conscience to balance difficult and sensitive ethical, social and moral and medical concerns.
Now, this guy is such a pathetic loser, because the reason he did that speech, quite literally, was for a single headline in the Sydney Morning Herald, which none of his voter base even cares about or probably reads. They're all reading the Daily Telegraph. The only people reading the SMH are rusted-on lefties who vote for the Teals, Greens or Labor. And yet Speakman gave that speech because behind the scenes, he'd worked with Alexandra Smith, the journalist, and lefties in his own party had worked with that journalist who'd already been writing hit pieces on their own colleague, Chris Rath. And so Speakman worked with her so that he could get that headline which said that he stands up to brazen bullying, and he gave a powerful speech. I mean, you can imagine like how excited he would have got to get that headline about giving a powerful speech, because no one's ever described Mark Speakman as doing anything powerful in his life. So I can get that that was a big moment for him. But then, you know, within like hours, this like house of cards started to crumble, because, you know, I came out and I released the email that I'd written to Mark Speakman, which literally just said, if you vote for this bill, I'm going to have to do a political campaign against you. So, you know, then it became obvious that this bullying that he'd accused me of doing was literally just me saying, I'm going to use my democratic right to run a political campaign against you and you're a political candidate. So Mark Speakman did all of that just for a headline. And now he literally is the weakest, most pathetic, lamest man in the country. And true to my word, today we're launching our campaign against him.
I won't cave in to brazen bullying like this.
So that's Liberal leader Mark Speakman, who accused you and me of bullying him because we had the courtesy to tell him that if he sided with the Labor and the Greens on their radical left abortion bill, we would run a campaign
to oust him as leader of the Liberal Party. Well, today we make good on that promise. You can call it brazen bullying, but we call it democracy. We, the people, are going to rise up against you, because when a Liberal leader sides with the radical left and is lockstep with Labor and the Greens, then he shouldn't be a Liberal leader. He should just be in the Greens. I'm asking everybody to sign our petition to axe Mark Speakman as leader of the Liberal Party. Voting for a bill that turns nurses and midwives into killers is unacceptable, and we're going to make it our mission to make sure that you are no longer the leader of the Liberal Party and that this sickness in the Liberal Party is weeded out once and for all.
So we've put out digital advertising and other campaign materials around axing Speakman. And so all of this video is to tell you, and it's going to sound crazy because you're going to be like, Joe, you've spent the entire video bitching about the Liberals and how pathetic they are. But the thing I'm going to say to you now is the single biggest pro-life action you can take is to join the Liberal Party. I'll say that again. The single biggest thing you can do to help save the 88,000 babies that are killed every year is to join the Liberal Party, because we actually need to take this party over. You and I, we can't axe Speakman from the outside. We can't get rid of Felicity Wilson and the left-wing infiltrators that are there. But if we, the grassroots, organise and join this party, then we get to choose who's in Parliament. We get to vote on pre-selections, and we get to take this party over. Now, this has been done successfully in South Australia since abortion up to birth was introduced by a Liberal government. Vicky Chapman and Stephen Marshall were the government that allowed this to be introduced. Since then, Alex Antic and others have successfully encourage the grassroots to join the party, and ordinary men and women in South Australia have joined this party en masse. And now pro-lifers are the dominant faction in this party. That is what needs to happen nationwide. And so I'm saying to you, whether you're in New South Wales or elsewhere, but I'm particularly asking you in New South Wales because we want to axe this guy, join the Liberal Party. Get politically active. Now, we cannot take over the Labor Party because Emily's list is so rusted on pro-abortion. We should probably vote minor party if they are explicitly pro-life. But we need a major party to stand up for the babies, like the Republican Party does in the US. At the moment, we have no one. We've got gutless libs in Dutton, Lay, little crowd in the Nationals. So join the Liberal Party or join the Nationals if you're in the regions, and let's take these parties over. So to concretise this, what I need you guys to do is actually to do this now. So it doesn't work if you delay and do this in 3 months, 6 months, or a year, because the earlier we get us all involved and joined up, the earlier we get to vote. Because apparently the way this all works is if you join up just before the pre-selections, you don't actually get to vote. So what you need to do, guys, is to go to the Liberal Party website and to sign up to become a member. Now, usually you have to pay something like $100, but it's really not very much when I'm telling you that this is the thing that will help us save these babies. Because, you know, we can change the culture. We can convince people not to have abortions, and that's really powerful. And that's certainly what I'm trying to do through all of this socials content. But the other arm of this fight is to change the legislation, because law has a normative effect. And so, you know, we lost the live births bill in South Australia by 1 vote in the upper house because the Liberal Party has become so pro-life in South Australia. If we actually, that's because the grassroots of the Liberal Party has become pro-life, you know. I don't even think we've got the best representatives yet in the Liberal Party in the South Australian Parliament, but we do have an excellent grassroots membership. Now, if we could replicate that nationwide, what it means is you go to the website, you sign up today, you pay the $100 fees, and as boring as it is, guys, you turn up to the meetings, and in particular the important meetings around pre-selection, and you vote for the pro-life candidate. That's how we win this. That's how we save the babies. That's how we axe Mark Speakman with our membership. And that's today on The Dr. Joe Show.